Hello guys, today we're going to take a look at some of the libraries that I have added on the website for the RC tractors and for the RC controllers. Just to be clear, I'm not a professional programmer. Everything that I've done here is just kind of self-taught, so it's not really a great example of how to program. So if you want that kind of thing, you should really look for a different programmer or join a few forums. The Arduino forum is obviously a good place to learn about coding Arduinos. There's lots of guys there who can answer all your programming questions. So this is just going to be a look at my code and basically how I done it really. So it's not professional programming tutorials or anything, it's just the way that I did it. So the first thing we'll want to check if you've downloaded the libraries is that you've installed them in the right directory. So you should have your Arduino folder. Inside that should be libraries, and then when you come down here you should see RC Tractor Guy has all the vehicle libraries and the vehicle examples, and the RC controller version 1 and version 2 and the basic controller have the various controllers as well. So if we go into RC Tractor Guy, see here are the libraries. So these are mostly different libraries that I've taken and maybe slightly modified. For example, the RF24 would control the NRF24 radio modules. The TX only was a serial, like a software UART. NRF again, that's another part of the RF24 library, I think. Then we had the I2C, that was for the IO expansion chips that we were using on some of the boards, so in some of the tractors. And then for the wheeled vehicles we had the RC Tractor Guy library, and then because the excavators were just too different, I had to add libraries for the excavator as well. So it's important that these are in Arduino libraries and then the one folder for that library. You can't have libraries RC Tractor Guy, as can happen with when you extract the folders from the compressed file. So when you go in here, you'll see utilities is that's kind of left over from one of the libraries. I think it was from the RF24 library, so don't worry about that. But if you go into the examples, you'll see all the different folders for different vehicles, different types of vehicles. And if we go into one, you can see the different vehicles in the tractors. Go in there, and now we have the sketch. So if you open this sketch, I'm not sure if you can modify it. Let's find out. It might not let us to save this because it's in an examples folder. But let's just try. Yeah, so we can't modify this file because it's inside the examples folder of a library. So that means it's read-only, because normally you wouldn't want to modify the examples. But if you did want to modify the examples, I'll show you what to do. Cancel that. You would right click on it, and I have TextPad installed, so I could just open it with TextPad. So this is a text editor which will allow me to just modify the file. So I can write test here, and now I can save the file. And if I go back to the Arduino and into examples, RC Tractor Guy, we are looking at JD6920S. So let's open that, and there's test, which we wrote in the folder here, which we modified in the file here in TextPad. Now you can also open this in Notepad, and I think Notepad is the default text editor in Windows, so you can modify it that way. So let me see if it will update as I make changes here. So now we've added in this extra text test 2, and if I go back to the sketch, it's not there. So if I try to verify it. Okay, so if you have the file open, you can't see the changes, so we'll have to close it, go back to examples, and now we can see our changes have been made. So you probably won't want to make changes to the example files themselves. You'd more likely want to take the example file, make a copy of it, and use that in your own vehicle. So you might just, instead, we'll say you come along, you want to copy the program for the John Deere because your vehicle is very similar. So we open up the John Deere and we want to save this. So we have to save it in a different location, and now it's saving it in where our normal folders would be stored. So let's call this John Deere mod. So we'll save that. And you might have your different tractor, so you don't want it to be the same ID. Maybe you're already using this file for a different tractor, so we'll change our ID to ID3. So now John Deere 6920S mod is going to be under ID3 and it won't interfere. So you can verify that file works, no problem, and we can save it. So now, because we've saved it in a different location, we aren't modifying the example file, which is a read-only file. So there's our original file, and this is our second tractor. So we probably have, maybe we have a fleet of John Deere 6920S's. So there's first one ID2, second one ID3. So that's how you would set up a different program for, or a different sketch for your own tractor. So while you mightn't want to modify the example sketches themselves, there is a good chance that you would want to modify the library files. So if you come back and go back to RC Tractor Guide, the library, we have two files that make up our library really. We have the H file here, which you probably won't need to do too many modifications to. You can see it's basically a list of the different functions that we have here. These ones are public, so they can be accessed from the sketch. These ones are private, so they can only be accessed from inside the .cpp file or inside the H file, depends what way you make the library. But like I say, I'm definitely not an expert in programming, so I don't 100% understand how all of this works, so I can only explain how it's working for me, I guess. So that's the .h file. It's unlikely you're going to want to modify this unless you plan to add another function. So say you wanted to add another function, you might want lifting arms 2 or something. So let's say we copy that and we'll add it in here. We call it lifting arms 2, and I think you can leave those values. You don't need to change them. I think that will work okay. However, you will need to add lifting arms 2 into our library or our file is going to crash. So if I open up an example again, we've modified the library now, so I expect this will crash. And it didn't. Maybe it doesn't crash when you define this function in the H file. Maybe it crashes if you do it the other way around. You kind of define the function in the CPP file first instead of the H file. So let me open the CPP file here, and we'll try find that function as well. It was lifting arms we modified, so here's lifting arms. So let me copy this, and we'll try lifting arms 2 here and see does that crash. So we've saved that. Okay, so it's crashed now, and it'll be because we've put this in, but we haven't defined it in the H file. So if I get rid of the comment out, oh by the way, that's how you comment out something in the libraries or in even your sketch. You just do forward slashes or forward slash and a star, like that. It will comment out a section. So I could go down to here and do that, and I've commented out this section here. So I'll get rid of the commenting, and if I save this and try to get our file again, I think this is going to work. Yep. So that's how you define another function if you wanted to copy a function for some reason. So I'll get rid of that for now. So you need to define the function in the H file first, and then you can add it to the CPP file. So now we're back in our CPP file here, and this is basically like a big Arduino sketch, I guess. Only the functions, you share them between all the different sketches. So your sketch for your vehicle calls the function from this library file, and the benefit to that is that I can have all my different vehicle files stored as examples and just reference this library. If I improve the function that controls the drive on one of the models, I just change it in the library here, and when I upload the code to the new models, or this code again after I've recompiled it, I can upload it to all the models and they'll all have that upgraded feature without needing to go around all the individual sketches and modify the sketches. So that can save you a lot of time when you have a lot of vehicles. For most of you guys, you probably are only doing maybe one tractor or one RC car or whatever you happen to be making, so you probably want to just have one sketch, but this way is more convenient when you have lots of models to work from. It's kind of set up like a normal sketch. We have our include files and we have our variables that we store. Then we come down, we have our functions, and it's a little bit different here because you're kind of in your file here, you have set up RC tractor there, and then you have JD6920S, and then when you go down here further, the JD6920S is kind of like the identifier or something like that. I'm not 100% sure what the names are, but it's this part here that becomes the JD6920S. So this part of the sketch is kind of the same as this line in the library, and when you put the JD6920S, this part becomes that, but in a different sketch. For the Massey, it's M80, 680 or whatever, or any of the whatever you're calling the tractor here. It's different in the sketch, but this is the identifier that you're kind of naming. So this part will always change between the different vehicles. Well, if you're trying to keep things right, you'd change the name on everything, but you could always just put the same code on all the tractors and just change the ID. Change the ID. I'm pretty sure that would work fine. I'm pretty sure if you just change the ID from 0 to, well, I'm not sure how big a number you could go to, but let's say 0 to 10. If you had 11 tractors from 0 to 10, I think that would just work perfectly fine if you use the same code on all the tractors. So it's this part that you are defining there. And so if we come down to one of our functions here, so now we have RC tractor begin, and if we go to our sketch, we have JD6920S begin, and you can see there's nothing in the brackets in the begin and nothing in the brackets here, so they have to match. If I say set it up so it thinks that there should be a value, so we'll try this. I think this would work, but I also need to do that in the H file. Now if I try to compile, I think we'll get an error because there's nothing here. Yeah, so it's probably saying it's expecting something there. Yeah, candidate expects one argument, so basically it's expecting us to put in a value there. So probably if I put in 1, it'll work. So now back here, our test now, once we've compiled that, is equal to 1, but we don't use test in this function at all, so it's kind of, it doesn't actually do anything. We just, inside this function, so between this bracket and this bracket, the word test will equal, or the variable test will equal 1, but once this function has finished, test just disappears because it's inside the brackets here. If it was defined at the top of the file here, it would, so if we had int test here, it would be 1 throughout the whole library, but because we're only defining it inside this little piece here, it's only usable inside the brackets of that function, or inside the function. It's only usable inside the function. So that's one little thing there. Okay, well that's a little bit about the libraries and the different sketches for the tractors. If you like this type of video where I kind of talk through the code, it's not really planned out. I just I'm just kind of going through the code and kind of saying what comes into mind really. But if you like this kind of video, make sure and hit the like button and let me know in the comments, particularly if you have any suggestions on what exactly you want me to talk about. I could focus the video on a particular part. So if you have, say, if you want to see how I do the code for motor control, or how you might copy the motor control code into a sketch, just let me know, upload a video, and I'll do that if I can, as soon as I can. So I hope you like this different type of video, looking through the code. If you did, make sure and hit the like button, and I think that's everything for today, so thanks very much for watching.